So the next part of the program is something that you've all been anticipating. It's a history lesson. It's a conversation between Brian Lambie of Redbrick Communications. Brian coordinates all the communications for FCM, and it's a history lesson with Hazel McCallion. Hazel and I go back quite a few years, so I'm kind of part of that history. I'm just hoping that I'm not part of examples of not what to do during that. But Brian and Hazel, we invite you up to the stage in that for a pleasant conversation.
Well, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm nervous. I've got to be honest. I feel like I've got to do breathing exercises based on what the doctor said. And I think I'm nervous not only because you're my mayor, but you've always been my mayor. Oh. I haven't known another mayor. And according to our records, your first AMO conference was August 1968. I was 3 months old. So it gives you a sense. You're not running in the next election.
That's right.
Nick Nano says you're expected to win. And all of these people want to know how you win elections, because they are going to be running, a lot of them. So we've got about 10 minutes to figure out how we put all of your expertise into their careers. That's what I'd like to do. So what is it that makes Hazel McCallion Hazel McCallion? How have you built such a loyal following for so long?
Well, I think you have to work hard at it and be committed to whatever you do in life. I was in the private sector for 30 years and then retired and got into the public sector. I've given the public sector the same commitment and hard work that I gave in the private sector. That is, when you undertake a job, you should give it your best, because usually the best comes back to you in many ways.
So I want to back up just a little bit there in case anybody missed that. You were in the private sector for 30 years?
Yes.
Before your first municipal election, is that right?
Yes, right.
Okay. And how did it go early on? Because I understand your introduction to municipal politics was a bit rough.
Well, the first year I ran as Deputy Reeve of Streetsville, and of course the women voted against me. They didn't know where this wild woman came from that wanted to get into municipal politics, and in their opinion was a man's world. So I lost, and it was a one-year term then. I went back and worked in the community. I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, ran a trade fair in Streetsville. So I went back and did my job in the community. The next time I ran, I won. I haven't looked back since then. 68, 69.
Okay, so
68, sorry.
You've gone from running a small village to running the 6th largest city in Canada. I'm wondering if the approaches that you use to running a small town or the small village of Streetsville, if you use the same approaches today, or if the job has changed as the cities have grown.
Oh, it has changed. When I was mayor of Streetsville, we didn't have staff. We had a plumber as an engineer, and I hired a professional engineer to find out where all the sewer lines and water lines were, because the politicians showed the contractor where to put them, but there were no drawings or anything. So I had to get the, having worked for an engineering firm for quite a few years, I knew what had to be done, and et cetera. So I signed the welfare checks as mayor of Streetsville. And by the way, I held some back because I knew what they were doing. They're getting welfare.
All right. So several years ago, I've lived in Mississauga my entire life, but several years ago I shared a house in Mississauga with 3 guys from New Liskeard. I shared a house with 3 guys from New Liskeard. Where's New Liskeard? Somebody's got to be here. So there was a hole, a deep and dangerous hole beside the sidewalk and the street. And my roommate Jim said, what do we do about this what department do we call? I said, call the mayor's office. They laughed. I said, call the mayor's office. 48 hours later, it was fixed. So thank you.
Well, you know, you have to look after the small details as well as the big ones.
Well, I wonder how you make that work, because we're all focused on asset management plans, long-term planning, budgets, doing things according to schedules and everything else, and staying within budget. Is it productive or disruptive when a powerful mayor calls and says, drop what you're doing and fix that hole on Rosemary?
I never say drop what you're doing, it's just add it to what you're doing.
But how do you make that work? Because you have made it work in Mississauga. It doesn't.
Well, I think you know, I've been blessed with wonderful staff at the city, and they come. I respect them, and therefore, if you want the staff to respect you, and when you call them, they do answer and get the job done. I've tried to apply the private sector approach to management in the public sector. It's not easy. Sometimes, but if you have good staff that realizes that the only service we have to offer, or we don't produce a product, we produce service as a municipality. So you give good service, and when the people call, if they call the mayor, they get action. If they call, but I don't assume, you know, I tell them, have you called your counselor? I often get calls from people saying, you know, I called the counselor and they didn't respond. I'll say, oh, I'll check that. Usually it is that the counselor gave them the same answer I'll give them, but they didn't like the answer. So they call the mayor. You got to support your counselors to make sure that there isn't this, because the citizens like to divide and conquer. You can't let them divide and conquer your counselors from the mayor. You have to support your counselor. Make sure that they either didn't answer or they did. And I go back to people and say, well, the counselor answered you, but you didn't like the answer. Well, you're getting the same one from the mayor.
All right, so premiers and prime ministers have all joked, several of them, because you've weathered through many of them. You've outlasted a lot of them, really. But they've all joked that you're the most powerful politician in Canada. We just heard you referred to as your worship, and everybody knew who the speaker was talking about, right? In a room full of mayors, right? So I've always wondered how it is that you have this ability to get a minister's attention right away. When you phone any minister, provincially or federally, they will answer your call quickly. And a lot of elected officials, municipal officials, don't have that. How do you achieve that? How do you build it?
Well, I try to be fair in my approach to them. I do my homework before I call them. I don't call them without checking with the staff. It's an issue that needs to be looked at to make sure that when I call them, that I have the facts. And often they don't, I can tell you. So that sort of puts them on a spot.
But you must have a very busy day, because it's my understanding that you do your own housework, your own gardening, and you're telling that we need to read all the reports and be more informed than the minister.
Yeah, I think you got to know your facts before you go to the provincial or federal government. And I get frustrated when the staff, I find that municipal staff are better qualified to deal with an issue than either provincial or federal. Much better.
Should we start the delegation meetings with that point, or maybe just hold that in reserve? Okay. You're not the only prominent municipal figure that is stepping down.
No.
We're going to lose others. And it strikes me that the future municipal leaders in Ontario are in this room, likely. What advice do you have to those future leaders?
Well, I think you have to be committed to do the right thing and to realize that you're serving the people. And to do that, you have to make sure that, and the odd time, what politicians hate to say is no. I say no to the citizens if I feel that what they're asking us to do is not acceptable. But I explain to them why. And, you know, you can't always please everybody. You have to realize that. And I've taken strong stands against people that were pretty upset, and then they've become my major supporters because they realize that, but you got to explain to them why you say no. But don't always say yes. Gets you in a lot of trouble.
Are you worried that residents of Mississauga may be a little bit confused by a municipal election? Because I have to tell you, I drive around Ontario during municipal elections and I see the lawn signs. We don't have lawn signs in Mississauga during elections, and I don't think people understand that. It's going to be a very different place.
Yeah, I haven't done any campaigning for, I think it's 4 elections now. No signs, no letter. I don't receive any donations, of course, because I have no expenses. I win the election the day after the last one, and that is I give it the full time for the whole 4 years and not wait till the election comes and then show up at events like a lot of politicians do. I'm there from there, and the people want their mayor to be there. I also love the administration because having been in the private sector, I rose to a high management job, and therefore I enjoy that. You got to work with staff. The staff doesn't work for you, they work with you. And you can apply the private sector management rules to public sector to a certain degree, but you have to realize where you have to back off and realize that it can happen. So I've enjoyed my years, 44, 46 years. It's been a wonderful experience going from mayor of a small town to a mayor of this town.
Well, it's been a wonderful, as a resident of Mississauga, I have to tell you, it's been a wonderful experience. It's fun having Hazel McCallion as your mayor. Everybody, you know, it's been a privilege and a gift to us. So I want to thank you on behalf of my neighbors, and I know Russ has a few words for you as well.
Well, I just want to say to the politicians, don't give up the fight that we are with the province and the federal government. You know, it took us 12 years to get the gas tax. If we had given up, you wouldn't have it. Keep with it in the battle. And by the way, I'm leaving as mayor, but I'm not leaving the fight for municipal government.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed my pleasure to be up here. I'm a Streetsville boy. You know, Hazel, whenever she introduces me, she says, you know, he's good because he's a Streetsville boy. One of the nice things is that Hazel's always looked up to me when we're standing side by side. But ladies and gentlemen, before Mayor McCallion and Brian Lambie leave the stage, I need to make an important announcement. Today, Mayor McCallion is becoming an honorary life member of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Take a seat. I have 20 pages of notes. This recognition is reserved for exemplary service to the association itself and to the broad membership. There is no doubt about her dedication to the municipal sector. It has been consistent and it's been persevering. So too has her involvement in the association. Take a look at the screen. You saw those pictures. She has been a long-serving board member, participant on numerous AMO committees, and our representative to various provincial committees over time. Based on our records, her involvement in AMO has spanned 42 years, with only a few inactive years. She was the AMO president in 1978 to 1979. I think I was born, Hazel. And the 7th female president of the association. This recognition is not bestowed either regularly or lightly. Hazel is the 6th person to become an honorary life member of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. One of her often used phrases is, "Can you imagine?" Okay, her inflection makes it a phrase that grabs your immediate attention because you know that it will be followed by a very, very powerful opinion. I can tell you there were many an MOU meeting where the phrase, "Can you imagine?" was invoked. Hazel, with this honor, we thank you for your years of leadership, for your good counsel, for your vision, for your tenacity. You've helped to make this association stronger, and it's particularly insightful for me as a Streetsville boy to make this presentation to a Streetsville girl.
Wow.
Oh, thank you very much. This is a real pleasant surprise. I've enjoyed working for the municipalities. I hope that even though I was mayor of Mississauga, I always felt that I had to contribute some time to the good of municipal government in Ontario and Canada, because I think it's important. You can't just deal with your own municipality. And it's been a wonderful experience. You know, you got to enjoy what you do, whatever job you undertake. I enjoyed the private sector, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the public sector. It's just been a real privilege. The many friends I've made throughout the province, and at this conference, like many, meeting them again. I also enjoy meeting those that said, you know, you inspired me to get into politics. And I've tried to encourage young people to join the municipal. It is the most important level of government in Canada, no question about it. And we impact the lives of people every day. We are the government that is looking after them every day, and it is so important. And I think that we have to encourage more young people to serve government in an administration point of view as well, to encourage young people to realize that they have a major role to play in deciding the services for people. And I hope many of you are trying to do that. I set up the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee in Mississauga soon after I was elected mayor, and it has encouraged young people to run for office, which is good. But also the administration is very important. I'm going down to Charlottetown in September. I've been chosen as one of 23 women to determine the bold future vision for Canada for the next 150 years. And quite honestly, remember, you will recall that 23 men did it 150 years ago. Now the women are going to do it. And my role will be to determine, or to have the bold vision at what should happen to government in Canada. So look forward to the book that's going to be published. You know, local government I've never considered even going on to provincial or federal. You're too far from the people. At local government, you're with your people every day, either church or Sunday or shopping, etc. So my life, which I've given to local government since I joined it many years ago. So you are the most important politicians and administrative staff in Canada. Think about it seriously and realize I'm discouraged with the way in which press attacks politicians. I think it's most unfortunate. But don't give up. We are the people's government, local government, and remember that. And we are, in the eyes of the public, the people, the elected people that really serve the people. Same for the administrators. We need good people. And I've been blessed all these years as mayor of Mississauga with excellent staff, committed staff, and with politicians that have served me for 24 and 26 years. So you see, there's a lot of satisfaction. And this honor today, I have to tell you, Russ, is really wonderful. I look forward to being with you. And I'm going to continue to fight for you because we're going to win. Don't ever give up. Because you know what? we can weaken them at some point.
Thank you.